In response to the United States funding freeze in 2025, human rights organization Legabibo launched the documentary Still We Stand to document how the cuts affect access to health care, livelihoods and support services for LGBTQIA+ communities and frontline organizations. Following the withdrawal of donor support, several organizations providing HIV-related and LGBTQIA-focused services were forced to scale down or close operations, affecting access to critical treatment, psychosocial support, and safe community spaces.
We received a stop work order from the U.S. government, dealing MISA funding and all activities that were funded by USAID funds, that were funded by U.S. money, really, U.S. funds. So that immediately meant we had to close down services that we were providing, and amongst the services that we provide, HIV response services, so testing, PrEP, ARV therapy, access to clinical care, and all of those services, those had to immediately come to a stop. And eventually it also meant eventually we also had to close down our drop-in centers. And these were in Letlhakane, Francistown, Gasani, and these were all affected. But we had also had to close down I think Maung, 𝐶𝐻, also again because of funding. So the Still We Stand campaign then came through the support of Kaleidoscope Trust, who were very generous to provide funding for us to have what is called like a rapid response. So in our rapid response, we developed a campaign called Still We Stand, which was intended to document the impact of the funding freeze on people's lives. So for some people, this meant that they were not able to access at a place like Legabibo, but it's not just Legabibo, it's Legabibo's other CSOs like Botebelo Pili, Bobofwa, Bobonela, and all of those things who provide services to people.
During the screening of the documentary, participants shared their experiences and emphasized the need for resilience and sustainable funding to ensure continuity of essential services.
Regarding We Still Stand documentaries, that the global funding cuts obviously had impacted access in terms of access to healthcare services by the care community, regarding basically access to things like essential medical healthcare services, the SRHR prevention or HIV prevention commodities, or mental items, or finger calls. I think also the funding had somehow also perpetuated, I'll say, stigma against the community. But I think there's a call for African countries to explore the different or new sustainable models of resource mobilizing, so that movement building continues, so that the civic societies continue to grow stronger. So there is actually a need to be looking more into more alternative and sustainable resource mobilization.
In terms of these discriminations, and these discriminations makes us as individuals to get challenges from going out to access medical help or seek for any medical attention from the hospital. Because whenever you try to go there, you may be treated with the left hand, which makes us not to feel free going to the clinics. Continuing on that, these stories made us now, because in the generation we are on, especially the youth, as the youth, Yaga, Trump, whatever the stories he was mentioning for this, whatever the LGBT community has to come to an end, there are just two genders in the world. Yes, there are two genders, but we people feel different ways and with different feelings, emotions.
I think it's important that when you know that somebody in your circle is marginalized or doesn't have as many privileges as you, it's important to care for them in ways that they can recognize as well. But it's not just about, hey friend, are you okay? Hey friend, are you this? Like, are you taking your meds? Are you going to seek psychosocial support? Are you doing all of the things that you're meant to be doing? And I think it's important because that fosters collective responsibility, because right? And I think it's very important to live in that truth, even in the times that we live in now.
Legabibo traveled to 5 locations across the country to document the lived experiences of affected individuals and organizations, highlighting service gaps and the broader social impact of the funding cuts.
We're able to travel to 5 different locations. We did Maung, Kasane, Francistown, Legabibo, in Gaborone, we were also able to meet not just with community members but with high-level engagements with duty bearers, so government, the policy makers, other CSOs, regional CSOs, that sort of stuff. Our partners globally, the Southern African Litigation Center, for example. And through that dialogue, I have a conversation about what can be done in the resistance, what can we do as a movement in response to the funding freeze, and also planning for, I guess, mitigation for the future.
The organization says the findings remain relevant, particularly as Botswana continues to face the shortages of certain medications, further affecting vulnerable communities who rely on consistent access to treatment.
Still, we stand as relevant even in today, because even this was a year ago, because funding did return, and though it didn't look like what it had initially looked like before, but when it returned, it looked different. But even in that return, there's limitations. And then now, on a local context, people are experiencing shortages in Milimo across the board, and that especially affects LGBTI persons. Like, it's an additional affliction for LGBTI persons, because in context there's a very limited space for where people are able to access services in an affirming way. It's not every clinical facility has a point about the way but now that is even worsened by the shortage is affecting the country right now.
As part of its response, Legabibo has produced a research report and toolkit to guide advocacy and strengthen community resilience. The organization is also working to introduce a digital platform called Mkhosi, which enables LGBTQIA+ individuals to safely report human rights violations and helps organizations respond more effectively. 𝐃𝐎𝐿𝐿, YTV News.